Hello there and welcome to episode 8 of the podcast, Jump Into Success. Okay, let's get going. So here we are, we've made it to episode 8, which is the last in our pilot series. We've sort of said that each series of this podcast will have 8 episodes, and the first sort of series has been really, sort of a pilot. It's us testing how we're going to do this, what kind of content, testing the software, and so on. And actually, I want to say this from the get-go. Thank you so much for all of the really positive feedback we have had in. Because it's been really amazing and it's been really encouraging actually. So it's encouraged us to go with pretty much straight away with the second series, and we've got some great interviews lined up as well, and some other great content. So it's very, very exciting, and we're really, really pleased that you're enjoying this. And if you haven't said, that you're enjoying it, or maybe you haven't emailed in and said what kind of content you'd like, or specific topics around personal or indeed professional development you'd like us to cover, be sure to do that. And be sure to subscribe because, we're going to get better at this and explore more and more options to help you become, more successful going forward. Now, I've got to sort of say this from the get-go because it's been a crazy, crazy week here in the UK with all the riots and stuff. And it's disappointing, it's disturbing, and I guess for some people actually it must be quite scary, but it really is just crazy because, a minority of people with some crazy bonkers ideas are out there in the streets smashing and burning and just making a noise, thinking somehow they represent the many, and it's demonstrably clear that they do not. And as I'm recording this, it's clear that things have gotten a little bit better, and so hopefully that's all calming down, and common sense is prevailing, and we're better together than we are apart, and that's the kind of thing. So crazy negativity on the news over the last few days, but most people, and this is my experience, are not filled with hate or prejudice. Actually, they're not. They want to get on with people. We are a multicultural society, and that's what makes us strong and indeed powerful. It's just, when you make a noise like that, you end up on TV, and some people want that. They want that sort of attention. Just remember the old saying, it's the, It's the squeaky wheel that gets the grease. But I think they'll be getting more grease than they bargained for, as they end up in court and possibly prison as well. But there we go, these things happen. But the fact that you're listening to this podcast says you're not one of those who thinks that acting in a somehow destructive way is a good thing. So we're just going to focus on a better future together and building a better world for everybody. Now, with that in mind, today's content is around goal setting. And I thought that would be a good thing to cover for sort of the 8th version, or the 8th episode, if you will, of the podcast. So that's what we're going to talk about today, and the encouragement for this one is to have a pen and paper to hand. You're going to need a pen and paper because we're going to be walking you through a little bit of an exercise to help you really get some focus and take that step into goal setting for yourself, or maybe for your team as well, who knows, but certainly for yourself. So pause the recording right now if you don't have a pen and paper to hand, or if you're driving, you can listen through, I guess, and then go through it again when you've got more time. But if you're sat and you can, pause the recording, go get a pen and a paper, or a pencil and a paper, whatever's good for you. And when you come back, let's go. Okay, so I'm assuming that you've got a pen and paper to hand right now. So what are we going to talk about? We're talking about setting goals that make a difference to us. Goals that make a difference, a positive difference. Now, there are lots of ways of setting goals, and, the Be Inspired group on the website, you'll see we talk about goal setting and well-formed outcomes in NLP and SMARTs and all these other PZOs of models for setting goals. So on this podcast, I thought what I'd do is something slightly different, and we're kind of condense it down into a couple of steps, and that's why the pen and paper is important. So make sure you've got the pen and paper. So setting and achieving goals does a few things for us. It keeps our brain and our heart and indeed our whole body and our whole mentality challenged. It keeps us alive, basically, because we're always moving forward and working towards a goal that we want in the future. This kind of activity is good for us. It encourages us to adapt, to learn, to develop strategies to overcome obstacles, and kind of generally fosters a growth mindset that really is, I guess, key to success in the modern world. And it's key to both personal and indeed professional development. So there are no real downsides to setting goals. And there's a couple of quotations to kind of help us tune in here. Earl Nightingale, who, if you don't know who he is, you can look him up, but he's huge in the field of personal development with the businesses that he started. But he said, people with goals succeed because they know where they're going. This isn't even complicated, but you got to know where you're going. So to know where you're going, you got to set a goal. I'm going there. This is where we're going, and the reasons why. We're going to get into that in a second. And then from the good book in Proverbs 29:18, where there is no vision, the people perish. Where there is no vision, the people perish. So we need a vision. We need something to get us out of bed in the morning to really get the juices flowing, get us focused, get us energized, get us off the sofa and the junk TV and focusing on all the negativity maybe that we've, watching too much of that stuff on TV will drag you down. And remember the change cycle. The change cycle happens, the instigated, that first step is when we go, that's it, I've had enough. The pain becomes too much, the uncomfortableness becomes too uncomfortable, or some other trigger goes, hang on a second, maybe it's time for a change. I feel too stale, I feel stuck state, I feel something needs to happen. And as this guy, Mr. Dobson, if I've said his name correctly, Fitzhugh Dodson says, without goals and plans to reach them, you're like a ship that has set sail but with no destination. And there's a couple of things here that are important to focus on. We need the goals, so without them, we're this mindless ship just bobbing around in the harbour. But not just the goals, but the plans to reach them. Also have that strategy. That strategy. Now, let's get us going. First off, we've got an LP presupposition. Now, if you've listened to any of these things before or been on our website, the Be Inspired group or anything like that, excuse me, you'll know that I often talk about NLP and in particular the presuppositions because they're around developing, this notion of a philosophy for success, a personal philosophy for success. And the one for today really is where attention goes, energy flows. Where attention goes, energy flows. So you've got to ask yourself this question. Where is your attention or where's your focus? What are you focusing on? Are you focusing on problems, on negativity, on can't do's? Or are you focusing on developing a strategy, on having goals for a better future? Now, only you can answer these questions. Only you can do that. You might want to think, what one thing can I change right now that will make my life easier or better or even more comfortable in the future? And in a sense, that's what I'm asking you to do during this podcast. Think of just one thing that you can change or commit to changing and working towards during this entire recording that will make your life better, easier and more comfortable in future days, weeks and months to come. Now, I want to be clear. This doesn't have to be one big, huge vision or goal, the old BHAG. If you don't know what BHAG means, it's this big, hairy, audacious goal. And that's fine. It's great to have those things. But what I'm encouraging you to do right now, it's often better to have a small goal, especially if you're not used to doing this. Those of us who work in coaching and personal development are probably used to having a sort of a 6-month plan, a year plan, 5-year plan, all of those kind of things. But if you're not used to setting goals and working on them and having that strategy, maybe start with something small. In fact, the science says start with something small. So it's often better, small, manageable, and for the sake of this recording, something that you can begin and really see a sort of result or some kind of progress over the next 7 days. Over the next 7 days. So just one change that will probably over time have an impact that you can't even imagine just now. And I say that because making a small change today and tomorrow and the next day and working on that small change over a period of time really can have a big impact on your future happiness and success. Okay, you got your pen and paper to hand? Let's get going. Now listen, if you don't have a pen and paper, stop the recording If you can, if you're driving or doing something, maybe you can't do that and you come back to it in a while. But if you don't, get some pen, pause the recording, get a pen, get a paper, and come back when you're ready and press play again. Okay? Okay, so we're asking this question. What one small thing will I commit to doing over the next 7 days that will improve my life? What one small thing can I commit to changing, or maybe even stopping? But if it's stopping, you want to rephrase that, and we'll come on to that in a second. But one small thing we're going to work on together, focus on, that will improve your life over a period of time. Now, John F. Kennedy said, things do not just happen, they are made to happen. So this is really what we're doing here. We're making something happen. We're making something happen in our lives. Now, remember to stop the recording if you need time to reflect on this one thing, because I'm getting you to write it down. Okay, so take some time and write down the one sentence of the one thing you're going to work on and change over the next 7 days. Okay, if you need to pause the recording to take some time, do that now. Okay, so have you written something down? If you haven't, do it now. Pause the recording if you have to. Take a moment. Okay, we'll imagine you've got this. Now, take some time and look at the actual words that you've written on the piece of paper. How do you feel about this? Challenged? Maybe a little bit. That's a good thing. Do you need to change the words in any way? Now, what we mean by that is, remember, you must have a positive statement, a statement that's made in a positive set of words. Now, what do I mean by that? So here's my example. If you say something like, I don't know, I don't want to be happy. This is a negative statement. This is not going to work for you. And I'll explain why in a second. So you have to have I want this. So I don't want to be happy. Let's reframe that. I want to be happy, or even better, I want to be really happy. So think about the statement. It has to be made positively. I want XXX, whatever that thing is for you. Now, it may seem a little bit pedantic, but it's actually a little bit of psychology at work here. And I can prove this to you right now, even as you listen to this podcast. Are you ready for me to prove it to you? Okay. Don't think about kangaroos now. Stop it. Stop thinking about kangaroos. Now, I know for a fact you probably are thinking of kangaroos, because that's how the unconscious mind works. The unconscious mind cannot process negative instructions. It's just not possible. It's a part of our brain called the reticular activating system. It listens out to what you're saying, both your internal dialogue and your actual words when you say it out loud, and it's saying, oh, this person wants a particular thing. So what we say is goals or outcomes must be stated in the positive. What we mean by that is a single, short sentence of a desired outcome or state. Okay, back to your goal. Now, do you need to make a change? Does it need to be rephrased? If it is, do it right now. Okay? Happy with this piece of paper? Let's go on to the next step. On a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being pretty low and 10 being of the highest, what's the score when you think about you want this particular goal or this particular change in your life? Is it 1 or is it 10? Now, if you're 8 or even less, I'm going to ask you the question, what needs to happen to make this a 10? Because the higher the score, the higher the motivation will be for you to get off the couch, get out of bed, get out there and start working on the goal. And to create the discipline you need, yes, I'm using the word discipline here in a positive sense, to really discipline yourself and get the habit of working on this particular change that you want to make your life better in the future. Okay, ready for the next step? If you are, here comes the first possible personal development goal setting task that you've done maybe ever, I don't know. And this might seem like a strange thing I'm asking you to do, but you've got to commit to the process. Looking at your piece of paper with your positive statement of what you want, what I want you to do is to say the following out loud. I, your name, so if I was doing this, I would say, my name is Tony, and I commit to making a positive change in my life, and I'm starting by committing to, and state your goal. So we're clear about that? You've got to say it out loud, say your name, and you're committing to making a positive change in your life, and you're starting by committing to whatever the goal is. Now, I know, this may seem silly, or may even feel uncomfortable, or a bit, what the hell is it getting me to do here? But trust me on this. There is a ton of evidence from positive psychology that the practice of both writing and saying aloud your goals works. Why does that happen? It's easy for me to say it, but why? Well, excuse me, there is a ton of evidence and a lot of science around goal setting. Now, I could go into loads and loads of detail here on how your subcortical circuit involving the amygdala, evaluating how you feel about a goal, and how that works with your frontal lobe, mixing and matching with the amygdala to boost the opportunity for success. But that's a lot of science, and we haven't got that's not what this podcast is about. So for now, the short version says this: goal setting restructures your brain to make it more effective. I'm going to say that one more time. Goal setting restructures your brain to make it more effective. And by writing it down and saying it out loud, your conscious and unconscious mind begin to work together to make it happen. Simple as that. So, writing it down, saying it out loud, turns on all the key parts of the brain that we need to work together to help you achieve your goal as quickly and as easily as possible. So, are you ready? Do it now. Say it out loud. Say your name, committing to make a positive change in your life, and you're starting by committing to, and then state your goal. Do that now. Okay, well done. If you haven't, don't cheat. You're cheating yourself, remember? Do it. Pause the recording and say it. Okay. Next step. Ready? Looking at what you've written, and be honest here, what's the first step to make this happen? Now, I say about honest because it's just, oh, well, I'll just do something. No, you're not going to be committing to what you're doing. So be honest, and again, write it down. What's the first step to make this happen? Write it down. Do you need some help with this? If yes, from who? And when can you get in touch with them? What else? Does this goal need some additional resource? If yes, where can you get it from? Now, again, are you writing down the answers to these questions? Because if you're not, you ought to be. Okay, next step. And I really want you again to really be honest with yourself. What will happen if you do not commit to making this change right now? What will happen if you do not commit and, enjoy this change? What are the negativities of not doing? Now think about short-term and long-term, and again, be honest with yourself. And in a way, this is a kind of a guide to where you've scored yourself between 1 and 10. Because if it's, well, not very much, that's pretty low down the thing. Maybe you've picked the wrong goal. So be very clear. What will happen if you do not make a movement towards this particular goal? Okay, we don't want to dwell too much on negativity, so we'll move on to the next bit, which is, now think of all the benefits of successfully gaining this goal and feeling that personal success that you will have achieved. Now on your piece of paper, write down all the benefits of getting this outcome. Maybe a short list, but maybe a long bit. But it's probably a longer list if you are honest about the benefits of, making this change. Even, look, I've done it. I've done this. This is the first time I've set myself a goal and I've done it. So what are all the benefits? Write them down. Okay, moving on to the next step. Now, here we go. Here's the bit that once again may, for some people, seem a little bit, what's he getting me to do now? And it may feel a little bit uncomfortable. But if it's safe to do this next thing, but if you're driving a car or operating machinery, this is not a cool thing to do, so don't do it, because I'm going to be getting you to close your eyes. So only do this part when it's safe to do so. So, if it is safe and you're in a safe place and it's okay to do this, you're not driving a car, using machinery or anything like that, what I want you to do is sit comfortably in your chair, or if you're out walking, that's fine too. Take a couple of deep breaths in through the nose and out through the mouth. Then close your eyes. So if you're walking, stop. Close your eyes. And then visualize your goal in your mind's eye. See it in as much detail as possible. That's right. Now, notice how it feels when you think about this personal success. Notice just how that will enrich your life. Really notice this. Maybe make the picture a little bit bigger and even more compelling. And say to yourself, I want this and I commit to making it happen now. That's right. Say it to yourself or even out loud if you can. I want this and I'm committing to making it happen. Okay, good. Now open your eyes. Ready? Take a deep breath. That's right. We're working our way through the process here. Now, a couple of more questions to go for today. So first off is, how do you feel about committing to and taking this first step towards a better future? Now really think about that. How do you feel about and committing to taking the first step towards a better future? Now, if you've got your pen and paper to hand, you might even want to write down those answers because they can be quite motivating in and of themselves. And then lastly, and this is very, very important given what's been going on here in the UK over the last week or so. Are you ready? Remember this truth. It's a universal truth, but it's true. You are important. You are loved. And you do have something to contribute to the future of all of us. All of us need you, and you need all of us. It's together we create more and more success. Okay, that's what we've got for you this week. Hope that's been useful. Remember, you can find lots more on goal setting and general personal development and, of course, professional qualifications on our website, UKCPD.co.uk. Be sure to subscribe to this podcast. There's lots more lined up in the coming weeks and months, and we look forward to sharing it with you. So till then, take care of yourselves, and remember, one step at a time, that's what creates success. Take care, guys. Bye for now.